Hi, my name is Julia, and you might already know that, you might not, but my name is Julia, and welcome to Adventures Amidst Chaos. I live in France, just outside of Paris, as a fille au pair, which, if you don't know what an au pair is a person who comes and lives with a family as a childcare provider who is there to help the family. So they do things like some cook meals, do light housekeeping, but their biggest job is to take care of the kids and be a language exchange. So with my kid that I take care of, I speak English with him, and I help him with his English homework and we improve his English. There's other au pairs who native language is not English and they work as in their native language as well. Au pairs are all over the world. We're from all over the world. And it's just a really amazing and bizarre job to have. So one of the biggest questions I get in country, on the web, when I was coming over here, one of the letters you have to write for the French government is why you want to be an au pair. And it's kind of bizarre to talk about right now versus my answers when I was applying, because I know when I was applying, my answers were very, very like, either I could have stayed with families back home, gotten another nanny position for another year, or I could have come here and been an au pair, so very, very similar work to what I was doing back home, be in another country, be able to go on an adventure, travel, meet people, and learn another language. So those were my big points. I wanted to meet people, I wanted to be independent, I wanted to learn a language. So meet people, be independent, learn a language, and travel. That's part of being independent as well, is that I just wanted to see the world. So who can be an au pair? And really, anybody can be an au pair, but to be an au pair, you have to make a very specific decision. And you have to decide that I'm going somewhere, I'm going to put my all into it, I'm going to embarrass myself, I'm going to meet new people, I'm going to just give it 100%. And if you're not willing to do that, you're not going to be able to connect with your family, you're not going to be able to connect with other au pairs, and you're going to feel very lonely. So there's been a few times where I've been at parks and stuff, and there's a couple of girls speaking English, and like sitting on a bench, and you just go up and you go, "Are you an au pair?" The answer is not always yes, but that kind of attitude is something you have to have. And the other day I accidentally ordered socks at a bakery because I was trying to order a pastry that has kind of a similar word to sock, but not really at all. And you just have to accept the fact that you are probably going to embarrass yourself. And you have to be strong enough to do things alone, which when I came here, I wasn't. And that's why I didn't actually go on a lot of adventures at the beginning, and I didn't fully experience everything that being an au pair in Paris had to offer me. And it took me a while to really get out there and start doing things and start meeting people and start not waiting for like an event to be posted by a trusted group. Instead, deciding to try and find my own events and go to my own places and meet new people and just do things on my own. So anybody can be an au pair, but not everybody can actually do it. And I think if you're thinking about becoming an au pair, you can do it. You just have to commit yourself to the fact you're going to be embarrassed, you're going to be lonely, and you're going to have the best time. Why did I choose France? So actually, when I decided to become an au pair, I had not picked a country. I had just been like, I'm becoming an au pair. The end. And immediately I went to French-speaking countries because in Canada, I already knew a bit of French. And I knew if I was going to learn a second language, it was going to be French. So I actually bounced back and forth between Switzerland and France for a bit. But the agency that I went through, you had to pick a country, whereas, other ways that you can go about this, you can kind of keep your countries open. So when I picked when I applied with the agency, I had to pick a country, and I knew that Switzerland is a lot of German as well, and so then it kind of becomes a toss-up between which language I'd actually be learning, and I'd have to try really harder to find French families. I looked into Belgium as well, and a couple other places, and I decided on France because it's French, it's Paris, it's where French came from. So I ended up deciding on France. So going through an agency versus not going through an agency, I went through an agency for a couple of reasons. I really, really felt that it was worth my money, that having them vetting families on the one side and vetting the au pairs, and then their help with the application and their help when I'm over here if I need any help, I thought it was really, really worth it. Again, I've probably romanticized that a lot too. Now that I've gone through an agency, I'm gonna say I don't think agencies are worth it. So when I actually got over here, I no longer have anything to do with my agency back home. I'm now underneath the French agency, which my host family used. And unfortunately, the agencies don't really, depending on the agencies, I don't want to say anything really bad, because it's not really bad, it's just where their priorities are. Their priorities are with the families. The families are spending a lot of money on the agencies. So not going through an agency would mean doing something like Au Pair World, which can be a little bit scary, especially going through the visa process and things like that, because I don't know what you need. I don't know what to do. But what I'm realizing is because of the communities online, any question that you need answered, you can either eventually find on the French or the Canadian website, but if you can't find it, you type in where you're going or where you're from and au pair, and you'll find what you need. You will find other people, and the great thing about au pairs is that we know what it's like to be completely lost and trying to figure everything out. And we're gonna share it. If someone comes to me and says, I want to be an au pair, the first thing I do is go like, oh my goodness, do you need any help? I'm so excited. I think au pairing is such an amazing thing and such a thing I think you should do that I will do whatever you need for you to get over here. Like, let me know, I'm ready to help, I want to do this. And that's an attitude that a lot of au pairs have, because you got to be a certain type of person to being an au pair. You got to be out there, you got to be ready to meet people. And I think once you've been an au pair, you kind of like, you become a little weird. Honestly, the au pairs that are still here, the other day one girl looks at me in a line and she goes, are you an au pair? I just heard you speaking English. And I'm like, I am. Yes, I am. And it's not weird. It's totally normal to just approach random people on the street and ask them if they're au pairs. And different things like that. It just becomes normal. So I think it really brings you out of your shell. How long did it take? It took forever for me, and also like 3 days, because I started interviewing in July and I didn't end up finding a family until October. And that's a long time. But then it only took 14 days for my paperwork to get approved in France, and it only took 48 hours for my paperwork to get approved in Canada. And then I just had a visa, and everything went really, really fast for me on the paperwork side. The finding a family side was really hard and took a long time. So when I started, I was not in school, just because there weren't so many spaces. I came in the middle of the semester. It was just all a little bit not working out for me. And that is when I got really, really lonely, because you're only making friends through the Facebook group, and you're not seeing people very often. You take the kid to school, you come back here, maybe you wander a town by yourself, and it's very, very isolating. You're not doing too much outside of work, and then your weekends, it's harder to fill up your weekdays. So once I started school in January, it changed everything a lot, because now I have 3 mornings a week where I have 2-hour classes. And then other times I would have extra pronunciation classes, conversation classes, Sometimes the school does outings or concerts or things like that. So I think going to a language school is very, very important. And it really broadens your community and brings you to meeting au pairs much quicker. I know some other people who are not in school, they just have taken some French lessons and they find it much more difficult, and the community just isn't there as much. You have to really, really search for it. So I know other countries, you might not take language classes, especially if you ended up in England and you're a native English speaker. You don't need to take English classes then. And it becomes a lot harder to have a community like easily, because once you get to the French school, you automatically have a community to fall back on. Whereas if you have to make a community, that's when Facebook groups come in really important. WhatsApp. If you're moving to Europe, you have to download WhatsApp. I remember when WhatsApp was really popular in Canada a few years back, but that was before everyone had an iPhone, and now we just iMessage each other. But over here, everybody uses WhatsApp, and if you just ask around some au pairs, there's probably a WhatsApp group for your community, and it's a really great place to meet people. Facebook is a great place. WhatsApp. Bumble Friends I downloaded. So basically it's Bumble, but it's only for finding friends, which is really cool because, you know, it'll show you people who are in your area, who are a similar age of you, and you can just swipe left and right like you would and meet up. One thing that happened when I was looking to become an au pair is I really thought I would have a lot more time and a lot more money. I was coming over with a lot of savings, a couple grand in savings, which ended up getting eaten up by school fees and some other visa stuff. Ended up eating up a lot of my savings, so I didn't really have much in the end. And although you are making enough pocket money to do lots of things, you're not making enough to really be traveling all across Europe unless you brought savings. The other thing is time, and this is something a lot of au pairs say, is we have a lot of free time, but it's weird free time. It's like 3 hours from noon till 4, or that's not 3 hours, but you know, little pieces of time and chunks of time in the day, and then you're working kind of later at night, so you're not off till, you know, 8, 9. Then it's kind of time to go to bed because you work again in the morning at like 7. So anytime that you work with children who are in school and you're doing the out of school hours, your hours are always going to be a little bit strange. So you do have the weekends, and I always have Saturday, Sunday off. And then you do have some vacation in there as well. And there is lots of time to do stuff. You just have to be really committed to figuring out how to do stuff, when to do stuff. But I think especially American Canadians who are, I find a lot of us come over with really big adventure and travel dreams, and you will accomplish some of them, but nowhere near as many as you think. Because it's just, you know, although Europe is close together, it's not that close. So I think if you're really looking into an au pair to travel, it's not the job for you. Being an au pair is living with a family. It's a cultural exchange. It's learning a language. It's meeting new people. It's being a part of a family. It's working with kids. And there is some travel in there. And it's exploring whatever cities you're near and whatever culture you're in. If I could go back and tell myself something before I came here, it would be throw yourself into it. You are going to embarrass yourself. It does not matter. There are 1.7 million people living in Paris. If I screw up, say something dumb, and get laughed at, they might tell the story for the next 6 years in friend groups. Who cares? I'm never going to see them again. Even if I do, why does it matter? Yes, I said something stupid. Do you know how many stupid things I say in English? A lot. Do you know how many things I have to cut out of this because I just said this words wrong, or just trail off, or make up words? What's the worst that can happen? Are you going to die? I don't think anyone has died of embarrassment. I know I've wanted to, but I do not think there's a recorded case of dying of embarrassment. So that means you can be as ridiculous and stupid as you want. And all you're gonna do is either laugh at yourself or learn something. Tomorrow I'm going to Paris and I'm going to walk around for hours, and that's normal. I go to Paris and I walk around for hours by myself. I'm not scared, I'm not worried. Sometimes I say stupid things, and sometimes I almost get hit by cars, because in France, I just keep driving. Thank you for watching. I hope you've learned something, or you've just laughed at me the entire time. If I brought you any joy or any knowledge, then I will say I've accomplished something, and I think this video was worth it. I'm gonna post this one, giving myself a kick in the butt to actually make content and share it and get better at this. So if you want to become an au pair, if you never want to become an au pair, if you didn't even know what an au pair was, anything, I hope you learned something, I hope you laughed. And I just want to say thank you for watching, and if you want to see me more in my daily life, I do have an Instagram account, adventuresamidstchaos, and you can check out some of my blog posts and other videos on YouTube or at my blog, adventuresamidstchaos.ca. Thank you, and goodbye.